how do you stop being so overwhelmed, and how do you stop overthinking? This is something that I struggled with for most of my life. And the only way it stopped is when I stopped putting my energy everywhere. So basically, what I noticed, and I've noticed this not only in my life, but like I had the feedback from other people too, that when you spend so much of your time or most of your time being on social media, or even being with other people, or for me it was mostly like TV shows, movies. And you can see, like, if you go back to some of my previous videos, I used to be a binge watcher, like, of TV shows and movies. I was used to it because um, yeah, it was just a habit I had, that every time I needed to find some peace or to escape, yeah, it was mostly escapism from my life, which at the time was not really what I wanted, or at least I was pretty lost. And so the way I used to escape was watching TV shows, or like a lot of like reading also like fiction. Or but the thing is, from what I noticed, watching um, the more I was watching TV shows, the more I felt overwhelmed, drained, and the more I would overthink everything, and I would be less focused on what I needed to do, you know. And that's the thing. When you spend so much of your time and so much of your attention in external things, like and consuming external things, you lose a lot of energy, and we don't realize that. Also, when you spend so much of your time watching things that are not maybe the best kind of the best kind of content, and maybe the energy is not really positive. It talks a lot about drama and fights and crimes. You know, it tends to kind of drain you, or take the energy from you. And that's why I really noticed when I stopped watch when I stopped watching so much TV shows, or when I stopped putting so much energy there, I was able to take back my energy and put it somewhere um, that I actually wanted, you know. The thing is, that stimulation that we are searching from TV shows or movies, or even media, you know, like news, it's something that we can find in nature, or in simple things like reading a book, being in nature, working out. And we don't realize that, but it's really something that you realize when you start um, exchanging these habits. For example, watching TV shows, you can replace by reading a book or going on a walk, and you can see that, and you realize that you gain so much more energy, and in the long term you feel much focused and much more energized than you would if when you were spending all your time watching TV shows, or watching movies, or like being on social media or like watching news, you know. Another thing is that most of the time when you watch, like I'm gonna talk about especially TV shows, when you watch one episode, usually you don't stop at one. You watch like maybe the entire season or like all the seasons, and it's a never ending cycle where your energy gets sucked up, and you feel drained, and then you research more simulation, and then you feel even more drained, and this constant escape from reality is really what's maintaining this cycle. So what I usually recommend is that you start being okay with being in silence, and just being okay with the thoughts that comes when you're in silence, the emotions that comes when you're in silence, and just being okay, with being bored. And it sounds very weird saying that, but when was the last time you got bored? Um, I think we have to normalize just, not doing anything, just being there. And that in itself allows you to recenter your energy instead of putting that energy to like consume, whether it's like TV shows um, or like news or social media. It allows you really to gain back your energy, and um, in that you also notice you will be more focused. So yeah, that's another thing. Just set some times of silence, and try to add some moments of just being bored. Something I noticed also, like I had this issue with coming up with ideas, which reflecting, I noticed that it wasn't always the case. I had moments where I would have like so many ideas and like never ending ideas, and I was just asking myself, like, what was I doing during that time? And what I noticed is that I was spending more time just in silence, and like doing some activities without sound, And the thing is, when you're not always surrounded by sound, you you're able to be with your own thoughts. And something I noticed, so with that issue I had to come up with ideas, um, I've noticed that now ideas come to me when I do random things. I would be showering or like walking, or like, like cleaning something, or maybe arranging things, and ideas will come to me. And I feel like there's something very um, interesting about it. How silence really allows you to be with your own thoughts. And this is something that really changed how I see the way I come up with ideas. and most of the time it just comes at random moments, and then I note these ideas somewhere, and I can reuse them after. So yeah, and it's very funny because I remember when I was younger, I would be like me and my brother would complain that we were bored, and I remember the adults around us telling us, "Well, it's fine. You can be bored." And like as a child, um, you would find that kind of annoying, or you would be like, "Oh no, I don't want to get bored." But actually, there's so much wisdom is in that, and I would argue that people nowadays should learn to get bored more often. Um, and also when you get bored, or when you silence everything around you, that's when you can come back to yourself. You can come back to yourself and find yourself again, you know? And then on the other hand, being in silence helps you to actually reflect with yourself and kind of have this inner talk with yourself. You can also assess what kind of relationship you have with yourself, which, in my opinion, it's the most important relationship we have. I mean, you can want a relationship, but you don't need a relationship. The only relationship you you need is actually the relationship you have with yourself. And most people have a very toxic relationship with themselves. They talk down to themselves. They criticize themselves. They are like very harsh. I can tell you. And that's why it's important, like, to learn to be in silence, and to try to talk to that inner inner conversation or inner voice, to talk to that voice, and to be clear about how you should talk to yourself, like just noticing if you're being too harsh, um, like, I don't know, if you're like, "Oh, you can't do anything good," or "What are you doing? This is a mess. You all you do," this inner conversation or inner dialogue, because that inner dialogue will have an effect on everything around you. And that's why it really starts with this work, this inner work. It starts within. It really starts with you. And you will see that the more you learn to stay in silence and to start these inner conversation, the more you will learn to build a healthy relationship with yourself. And that healthy relationship is the most important thing that you can invest in. And yeah, most people spend their entire day watching TV shows and movies, and I used to do that too. Like, I used to watch TV shows all day and movies and then social media, and then I would ask myself, why am I so anxious? Um, Obviously, like, with so much overstimulation, you will get anxious, you know. And on the other hand, not only there's that whole consummation of content, or of, like, social media TV shows, movies, medias like news. Not only this has an effect, but also this like this inner dialogue. This like there's not one point where people like take a moment each day to refocus on themselves and to question that inner voice, you know.